Saints. Sister Junebug here with her recap and review of Kingdom Business, Season 2, Episode 7, Bed of Lies. That's right, Bed of Lies. And the synopsis reads, Rebel confronts Dex about Danny's death. Taj makes a tough choice for his family's future. Lord, I hate that choice. And Danita uses personal leverage to persuade Caesar to drop his lawsuit against her. She ain't nothing but the devil. I'm telling y'all, she ain't nothing but the devil. So before we get started, if you haven't subscribed to my channel, please take a moment right now. Subscribe, like, that's that thumbs up thing. Write a comment and share, because the Lord knows sharing is caring. Okay, so this episode starts with Danita going through her file. She digging and looking for a letter. And she found that letter. She had to find something damaging that would go up against the letter that Caesar had. And his letter was like proving that he helped her on a song. But his letter was saying the same thing, like there would be no me without you, and there'd be no you without me. Anyway. So when Danita found it, she was like, gotcha. So I'm assuming she gave the letter to her attorney. But then it switches over to Rebel and, was it Taj and Caesar? And I forgot the other girl name to be with Caesar. Sister Junebug be forgetting names. Anyway, they all in there talking. And they said Erica Campbell still have an open spot on her Women of Gospel tour. And so, Rebel want to be put in it. What I got to do? And they like, it's not Erica. She don't think the people are that forgiving. You know what I mean? After what Rebel has been going through in the news and everything. And Rebel's like, I don't get it. I done sang with Tasha Cobb. I done sang with Naomi Rain in prison. I done did that dope song that Taj wrote me, that gospel song. And they said, those are steps, Caesar's telling them, So Taj is saying he put in some calls, and the other girl said she put in calls. But they said they worried because nobody's getting back to them, And Rebel's like, I know I said this is what I wanted, and Taj is like, wait, you want to sing gospel? She said, yeah, but gospel don't want me. They don't want me. So, he said, no, you a great gospel singer. So they gonna see what happens. But anyway, the girl that be with Caesar said, it's time for your trial. He said, it's not a trial. He got to go to arbitration with Danita about his credits and everything that he didn't get for producing and writing and arranging on that album, her first album that made her a star. So next we had CJ and Danita talking. And CJ's asking her mama, is she going to be okay with this arbitration and all this stuff going on to sing? And she was like, I'll be fine. She said, yeah, but you can't sing, mama. And she said, what, that little glitch? So that's all they called it, was a glitch. She said, everybody lip syncs. I said, Lord Jesus, look at this mess. And so she's telling him that the people who are sponsoring the show, it's called Danita and Friends. So they don't expect to hear Danita sing. Danita's like, I just lip sync. She's like, Ma, really? You can't expect him not to want it. And she said, it'll be fine. Just play an old clip. She said, you told him you was going to be singing with your daughter and your son. And now we haven't even put down tracks to a song. So how we going to put down tracks to a song if you don't have no voice to sing? And she said, oh, we could play something old from back in the day. I said, Lord, this woman is a piece of work, ain't she, y'all? So now we have a scene where you see Caesar and Vi, his attorney, walk into the arbitration. They decide there was a change of venue. Danita and them wanted to have it at their offices. So, Caesar's like, whatever, And then they show Danita walking with her attorney, Ren. And that both attorneys are giving their, clients tips and information, telling them not to get baited by the other one and not to talk to them and not to argue with them and not to make it personal and all this stuff. And so they get to the door and they all looking at each other, and Vi goes, Ren goes, Vi, and then Caesar says, Danita says Caesar, and then they go sit down and the judge come in there and telling them all the ground rules she laying down and telling them not to do this and don't do that. The first thing they do is get into it. Danita started. She up there objecting like she had a judge in a court and stuff, and Caesar defending himself, and they going back and forth. It got so ugly. The judge was like, you know what? Let's take a break. she's a judge, but she's doing the arbitration. And they got the court stenographer in there as well in the conference room with them. So, and then Danita and them, they pulled out they played their card, pulling out that letter that she found. So it was like contradicting almost what his letter said, but it was a love letter because he was like I said, no you without me and all this stuff, no music without your voice and it was beautiful, but the judge sent them on a break. Next thing you know, she goes, Danita goes to see, what's her name? Her daughter, CJ, and asked her, did she need any help? And the CJ's asking her how the arbitration is going. And she said, well, I presented some evidence and it might change things and make this speed up. And she said, okay, that's great, And then she let her know that Fred Hammond, I think it's Fred Hammond, had to drop out, so they need to fill a spot. And she said, I'm sure you gonna find somebody to fill that spot. She said, do you have Taj confirmed? And she said, not yet, but I will. And she said, okay, baby, talk to you later. So next we have CJ and Taj, and they're working on this song. And Taj asked CJ what the song is for. He said, for us to sing and you have a part in it. Me, you, and mama. He said, no thanks, he not doing it. And he started reminiscing about when they was younger. She used to pull him up on stage and he didn't like that. He about to get married. He won't be his own man. He ain't got time for this. And then Rebel comes in. And Rebel's like, oh, I'm sorry. Excuse me. I didn't know y'all was busy. I'll come back. She walked out and Taj looked at her, CJ, and said, I got a person who could fill that spot. She said, who, Rebel? She said, oh no, mama would have a fit. She said, so it's a package deal. I will come if you pick Rebel. She said, really? And he explained to her about the Women of Gospel tour that Erica Campbell's doing and stuff, big recognition and a fan base and all that stuff. So she was like, okay, fine. But of course, that was after Taj reminded her that she's the producer and not Ma. Meaning she has the final say and don't let mommy push you around. So now back at the arbitration, Danita is just going in, talking about how Caesar was an alcoholic and that's why he need redeeming and that's why he was at church and all this stuff. And I told y'all it was nasty. And he was telling, he was saying things that he did and why he couldn't prove anything back then because she had everybody sign NDAs, the non-disclosure agreements. And so he couldn't get anybody to do anything. And one thing him and his attorney, Caesar and his attorney, was remembering and thinking about is how people are scared to cross her. So they might know the truth about what happened between her and Caesar, but they scared that Danita can make a phone call and ruin their lives, and get them kicked out of their business or whatever they do. So none of them want to give up the information. And that's what's making it so hard for Caesar. And all he could blurt out is, I was a fool. Basically, he was a fool to trust her and believe that she would do the right thing and put his name for all what he did, the producing and arranging and writing of the music. She is terrible. Now we got a scene where Rebel comes up and tell CJ that she letting her off the hook and that she not going to sing on it. She said, let's not fool ourselves. Your mama don't like me and I ain't no fan of hers either. Why don't you just call Essence? And she said, no, I'm the producer and I have you on it. And she said, I understand what Taj is trying to do. Your brother's trying to help me and help you, but I can't do this. And she said, well, I want you on it. You deserve to be on it. And she grabbed Rebel and took her to the back to change clothes, I guess, to get ready for the performance. But another thing that Caesar's attorney she said that she could tell that Danita has a history of lying and intimidating people. So she gonna bring that up so that the judge can hear things like that. So Taj runs into Caesar and tells him what he did. He said, don't be mad at me or nothing. And Caesar was like, no, that was a great idea. He told her what he did with Rebel, getting her on Danita's special. He said, that's a win-win. Great work, he said it. And Taj was surprised. He thought Caesar was going to be mad at him because they in court or arbitration now, So back at the arbitration, they bring up that her daddy paid for everything. He paid for we got receipts and all that. And Caesar's like, I never said that I paid for it. I did everything else. And then he started bringing up that I trusted you and we was supposed to get married and we was going to raise a family. He said, but you took care of that, right? Our child would be an adult right now. And he said, but you didn't want to marry. What was it? Why didn't we get married? Was it you or was it your family? You know, and she started with the daddy said, he said, daddy, daddy, daddy. That's enough. You know, I was like, oh my goodness, it got so ugly. And the judge was like, let's just end it for today. That's it. So now we have Rebel going to Club Vivid and telling Dex that she quit and that she not coming back this time. And he's like, whatever. He said, don't ask me for a reference for your next gig. I laughed. But he said, we survivors. That's why you back here. He said, I won't be surprised if you be back here. And she's like, whatever. But then she said, did you have anything to do with killing Danny? And he said, no. But he did say if he thought that killing somebody would save his own behind, he would sure do it. And I was like, probably a lot of people would. And Dex added that if he did kill her, he sure wouldn't tell Rebel. Anyway, now it switches over to Caesar and Taj talking. And Taj is telling him he gonna let Rebel know today that he can't work with her no more. And, you know, Caesar's like, are you sure? Maybe I could sit in, you know, and chaperone and stuff. And and Taj is like, nah, I promised Essence. And I'm thinking this is what she means, so I'm just going to not. He said, anyway, it's hard to be sitting in there working with her and stuff. And Caesar saying, like I'm saying, Sister Junebug is sitting there going, hold up, wait a minute now. Are you sure you should be getting married or something? Really? With these feelings that you know you having for Rebel? Have you in essence just ever had counseling? Maybe with somebody private that you could trust? And he's like, we already met with Pastor D. All of a sudden, Caesar said, oh snap, something popped in his head. And he left Taj standing right there by himself like, what just happened? And he went and saw Vi, his attorney, and said, I believe I might have a witness. And y'all know who his witness was? Deacon Dwayne. Deacon Dwayne is his witness. Oh, Lord Jesus, is getting good. So they show a little bit of Tamala Mann singing, and that was the night before, and now it's morning again, and they meeting again for the arbitration, and Caesar and Vi come in there, and they tell Ren, Danita, and the judge that their witness has arrived. And Deacon Dwayne come around that corner looking sad and pitiful. And Caesar's looking cocky. And Danita's like what? Dwayne? And I said, uh-oh. She whispered something to her attorney, which means this is going to be a mess, honey. So now we have Taj and CJ. And she's telling him that she hasn't shared this with anybody, but that her and Malcolm got approved for an adoption, you know. And he's like, that's great, sis. But she said, I haven't told the people that we are separated. How unforgiving she is of her husband. But she's so forgiving of the mess that her mama and her daddy and her grandma do. You're so forgiving of them. But whether they family or not, you know, how you so forgiving of them. But you can't forget the man who all he did was say something mean about your mama and put it out in the news after he done took care of her and was her nurse after her surgery and accident. So now back to this arbitration again, and Danita and her attorney come out of the room and saying they want to ask for a continuous so they could depose the witness. See, they gonna threaten or intimidate Deacon Dwayne or something like that, because I don't like that at all. But then Danita went off on a tangent telling him he ain't nothing. He didn't do nothing for her, to her. Tell me another talent you ever brought to the top of the chart, or another person, another artist that you made to the top. And he said Raven. She was like, oh, please. And he said, but you destroyed her right. She said, I did her a favor, just like I did you a favor and allowed you to work with me. She said, I'm Danita Jordan, and you're a joke. I mean, she went off. Like I said, it was a lot more than that, but I just was trying to be nice. Sister Juba was trying to be Christian-like, saying all of this stuff. And the judge looked at her, and she turned and walked out with her attorney, and the judge wrote something in her notepad, leaving Deacon Dwayne, Caesar, and Vi standing there looking like, what in the world was that? That was the devil. The devil in her soul. So Danita is asking her attorney, how did it look? She said, I said too much, right? And he said, the judge saw your passion, you know. And she said, well, what do we do now? He said that we wait. And he let her know there's no appeal and that things didn't look great. Because if they find in Caesar's favor, the amount that she owes him is more than their company is worth. So Danita said that we can't let him win. I won't let it. I said, oh, Lord Jesus, listen to all of this here. What's she gonna do? She don't mind lying and cheating and doing whatever to win. That's why she don't have her voice. She ain't listening to God and what God told her to do. So now we have the police chief paying Dex a visit at the club. And he's telling them that somebody's digging into the Danny Williams case. And so Dex is like, how's that my problem? He said, I'm making it your problem. He said, I need somebody to eliminate that problem. And he said, and you know I have power to put you back in jail for something, some crime he did. And he said, you on some stuff, Chief. He said, well, that's the way it goes. So now we have Danita showing up at Caesar's office. And that girl's name is Jewel. I knew was going to remember at some point. He said, Jewel said I had a visitor. I didn't think it was you. So she told me she came to set the record straight. This is Danita. And she said, I lied to you. He said, can you narrow it down? Lord Jesus, because she a liar. Can you narrow it down? And she started telling him stuff. And then she said, even she lied about their son. He thought she had an abortion, but she said she carried the baby for term, and then she gave it up for adoption. Then she didn't want to do that, but her parents made her. And Caesar was like, what? And she said she just recently found out that he still lied because her mama lied to her and told her that the baby had died. But that wasn't true. So she said, would you like to meet him? And Caesar's like, yeah, of course. She said, he'd like to meet you. He said, oh, okay. She said, then drop the lawsuit. I said, that ain't even right. You gonna hold that child over his head? That's the devil. Caesar asked her, is this her truth? He said, because is this the woman you become? Because you definitely are not the woman that I fell in love with all them years ago. And now you see her walking, talking to God, you know. I said, Lord Jesus, God is probably going to strike her down. She better stop being a fool. Up there telling God, you said you never leave me or forsake me. Please forgive me now. Oh, Lord Jesus, it's going to take her. You know he's a forgiving God, but she's just a hot mess. And so she calls the son. She calls him up and invites him to the studio or to her offices, wherever they are right there. So now it's Rebel's chance to sing her song for the Danita Jordan and Friends special. And she's singing this song. I think that's the song that Taj wrote for her. And oh my God, she is so beautiful. And the music is so beautiful. And the song to God is beautiful. And Taj and CJ are looking, and Taj's eyes are like, he's so in love and in awe of her. Oh Lord Jesus. He can't stop smiling. You can see it through his eyes. He's like adoring her. And she sing that grace song that he wrote for her. It's like Amazing Grace. It's Your Grace. I mean, it's a beautiful song. So, of course, Danita comes up and sings. Wait a minute, she ain't no friend of mine. Get her off my stage. And they like, no. She said, I don't understand. How did she get in here? Taj said, it was my idea. If you want me, you have to take her. He said, what makes you so crazy about this girl? And she said, we're going to cut this later. And CJ said, no, we not. I am the producer. We ain't cutting nothing. And Danita's so pissed. And then the head of the sponsor, Mr. Gray, comes up and said, who is that singing? And he's like, I want to meet her afterwards. And they tell her name is Rebecca Bell. And he says she is incredible singing It's God's Grace. I tell you, she was great. So Mr. Gray is telling her she has such talented friends, you know. And he said he can't wait to hear her sing with her children. And she said that she was going to sit this one out. And he said, can I talk to you for a moment? And he basically told her, don't play with me. I'm paying for a Danita Jordan and Friends special. And if Danita Jordan is not singing, there ain't no Danita special. I said, oh, you better put her in check. And he said, are we clear? And she said, very. And CJ overheard that. And she was like, So Rebel finished, and Mr. Gray wanted to be introduced to her, and Taj got up to go over there, and Danita grabbed him and told him, "This is not over." He said, "Am I dismissed now?" Because she think he a child and she could just keep treating her kids any old way, but Mama gonna learn one day the hard way. She better check herself. So everybody's telling her how wonderful she said, and she said thanks to her producer and songwriting partner. And of course, this is when Taj tells her that he can't produce her anymore, saying that he has to step into this new chapter. Because he did say, "I love producing and working with you." And she said, "I love it too." But he never told her it was because of Essence. He said because of this new chapter of family he had to step into. And she said, "Yeah, I understand family's important." Meanwhile, she don't have a mama or daddy, so she's feeling heartbroken. You know what I mean? I would feel the same way, Rebel. So he tried to hug her by and she moved back. Like, "Don't touch me. Don't touch me." And I understood it too. And he did as well. He knew it was going to be hard for her to take it. It was hard for him to say it. And so they called him away because they had the next thing was a family number that they had to do together. I don't know how Danita going to sing for that. But then Rebel was standing there watching them and, feeling some kind of way deep down inside. But what's strange is as Taj and CJ singing their number, he playing the piano and he looking at Rebel because one of the lines in it was like, "Please remember me and the way that I made you smile." And I was like, no, he didn't. No, he didn't. And Rebel turned and walked away. And at this moment, Danita's son walked up and said, "Thanks for inviting me." I said, "No, she didn't invite him to the studio. Is she going to introduce him to the kids?" No, she is not, because she said it's still delicate and it's going to take some time, but she wanted him to be here. I said, "That's ridiculous." And then it ends with Rebel, walking out. She took off her clothes, changed, walked out of the studio, and who pulls up in the car but Dex with a gun and talk about, "Get in, get in." And she's like standing there not know what to do. Instead of running, she get in. I was like, he got a gun in his hand. I would not be getting in there. What in the world is Rebel thinking? Lord Jesus, this gonna mess up her chances of doing that special. You just watch. And Danita gonna be able to use this against Taj and CJ for all of this. Anyway, that was the end of the episode. Y'all let me know what y'all thought about it down in the comment section. Please don't forget to subscribe, like, comment, and share. And Sister Junebug will see you in the next video. God bless.